William the Beast Bibiani. What's your favorite thing about the Schmodown website?
My favorite thing about the Schmodown website is that I run it.
Yeah. Doing a hell of a job, man.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind. No, I really like the Schmodown website. We've got a really good crew of people who just really want to write about the Schmodown. There's all the passion there. And we're able to keep that level of enthusiasm you get like when you're watching the match. Mm-hmm. We're trying to perpetuate that like throughout the week with just, fun retrospectives, deep philosophical questions about the Schmodown. Breaking news. If you love the Schmodown like you and I love the Schmodown, you don't just want to have it like once or twice a week. You want to come back to it. So we're having a really good time. And we have plans for the future, but right now it's like a good fan hub.
Yeah, it really is. And I found myself, which is so funny because I helped kind of instigate the building of it. I'm not a technical guy, but speaking with our web developer, getting it all ready, handing off to you, and watching it go. I'm like, Christian was like, yeah, you check out the website. I'm like, yes, I've checked out the website. Yes, checked out the website. And now I'm checking out the website every day because I'm interested in what people are saying. I love my favorite slice. I love what Janine the Machine is doing.
She's so good, isn't she? That's the best. I think it's the smartest thing we've done so far is giving her own column.
Yes, she is one of my favorite people in general. And to see her kind of light up and do so well in Schmodown, not just in competing and being a personality, but kicking butt online.
She's got a great perspective on everything because she's just like new enough to the Schmodown and everything that she's still very enthusiastic about it, but also she's been doing it long enough that she understands what goes into it. And I think that's a really good mentality. I think it's a really good way to introduce people to what we love about it because it works as a game show, sure, but it also works as a show. And it works as you get invested in these people in real life. And her column just gives you every single side of that all at once.
You brought up something interesting, the love of Schmodown. I love Schmodown. And tell me, what is something you love about the Schmodown? It could be the thing or one of the things, or is it just movie trivia?
Well,
you like your
I
movie
love movie
trivia?
I love movie.
Same.
I grew up trying to memorize IMDb back when that thing first came out.
Right.
But for me, I think the thing I love the most about it is that it combines something that I consider a strength, movie knowledge.
Same.
But it's also, we have a lot of creative freedom.
Yeah.
Like, the chairman, he helps outline a lot of the things that are going to go on within the show. But when it comes down to the entrances or whatever, I'm basically like a filmmaker in college again.
I know. I love it.
Yeah, that's the thing. You get to have so much creative fun with it. You don't just have to go up there and just answer questions. You can be as involved and as big and huge as you want it to be. And all credit goes to this wonderful crew for doing all of that. They are the best.
Absolutely. We have the best crew in the business. And I got to get back to the entrances. I used to do the entrances for my singles. And then when I was with Clark and Wolves of Steel, we would go nuts.
You had great entrances.
Thank you.
Great horror-themed entrances. A lot of the time was so good.
Yep.
The Chucky entrance. I wish I'd done that.
Right. And then, it's kind of fallen off just because it's more of a thing I'm doing now. But I kind of want to get back into it.
You got to match your partner. And Bateman's got enough personality to burst through that curtain on his own.
And then we have that other guy that follows us around.
I don't know if he's already such a personality. It would be like putting a hat on a hat. Like it would be like if Elvira was also dressed up as the Wolfman. Like, no, you're already Elvira. We don't need. You're good. He has his persona. You don't throw anything onto that fire.
Yeah, I couldn't put it better. Yeah, so it's like I'm kind of falling in with that. But when it comes to singles, I might have to do something because I think it's out there now. I'm playing Drew McWeeny next.
Is that out there?
That's out there.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. Inside Schmodown.
Okay. I thought that was still under wraps.
Yeah. It
okay.
came
I hope
today.
Christian isn't mad at you. Cool.
He is not mad. He told me today that it's out there.
Cool.
And
that's going to be a hell of a match. I look forward to seeing what you're going to do.
Boy. Of all the people that I have to do my first singles match back of the new year, The Godfather.
Drew was my first match last year.
Yeah, that's right.
And I killed you.
Yeah.
And that's when we replaced you with the robot I'm talking to now, which is really fun. You've been kicking ass, by the way. You're way better than the last Reilly.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But that was not an easy match. He is a tough competitor, but I think you might have a chance because as tough as Drew is in singles, he can be defeated. Put him on a good team.
Oh, yeah, and he's dangerous.
He's really dangerous because in team play, first round is everything. It's how many points you can rack up.
Yes.
You can rack up 18 points in a single round as a team.
Yes.
In first round as teams. You can't catch up to that most of the time.
No, you can't. Yeah. And I'll tell you, it is out there. It is on the Movie Trivia Facebook page right now, and there is a poll.
Oh.
And he is leading healthy.
How does that feel? Doesn't that
lead.
suck?
It totally sucks. But I'll tell you something. It gets me.
Yeah.
I love it. Let me be the underdog. Most of my big wins come from underdogs, but this is a completely different thing, and that's like underdog when I was against Roca and beat him for the belt, but that's another story.
Let me ask you a question.
Completely.
I'm curious about this. I'm curious if anyone else has ever had this because you're a former champion. You're multiple two-time champion.
Two-time, I guess. Yeah.
Have you ever been the underdog in a championship defense match when you were defending the belt? Because all the polls when I was up against Roca, and yeah, he beat me. Fair enough.
Yeah.
But all the polls were just like Bibbs is going to get crushed.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, I have the belt. What do I have to do? What else is there?
The Schmodown, a fickle thing when it comes to fans. Some
fair
days,
weather.
Yeah,
fair
some
weather.
fair weather, some ride or die, and that's the thing. That's the Schmodown. I'll take this. 72 to 34 votes right now. I'll frickin' take it. I'll take on Drew McWeeny. We'll see what happens.
What are
there.
the other votes for? I don't think that matches up. 72 to 34. Isn't that like 106?
Yeah, I guess I'm just.
That's
looking
impressive.
At there it is.
That's impressive.
People, and rightly so. The Godfather's tough. We'll figure it out. I'll start studying, and we're going to talk about a lot more than just Schmodown, Mr. Bibbiani. And I want to talk about horror movies because come on, you're here. So I want to talk about that. Welcome, one and all. It's episode 33 of the Reilly Roundtable. It's a show that talks about movies, it talks about life, it talks about movies and life and everything in between, including some Schmodown talk with Mr. William Bibbiani here for the first time. Glad to have you here, my friend.
Thank you. It's an honor to be invited onto one of these very special podcasts in this very wonderful room. I love the setup you have where, like, and I'm trying to, where's my angle here? I can, like, reach over, but my arm disappears.
Yeah, I know.
Where does it go? It's crazy.
Wait, no,
so
mine, no. Where does it go? I have no idea.
It's great.
It's
I love
great.
It.
Well, yeah, thank you for being here, and I love the fact that you did come on and that we did talk about this because this is going to be one of the most pre-planned episodes, which I've been dying to do because I've had Roca on and we've talked about like, hey, we're going to debate Justice League and Batman v Superman.
What's the debate?
I happen to like Batman v Superman.
I happen to like Justice League.
You liked okay.
It's a Frankenstein monster, but the Frankenstein monster was deserving of love.
That's why I don't like that movie. Oh God.
I grew up with my comic book movies being a mess, and you had to make the most of them. So like something like Justice League was just sort of like, look, there's some really good moments in that movie.
Oh yeah.
The moment, one of my favorite moments in any superhero movie is the moment when the Flash is running around Superman,
and he sees him,
and then Superman's just like, what are you doing? He's
yeah.
Like, ooh. Yeah, like that bit is so good that I don't mind that the other stuff around it's kind of lame. Like there's so many like weird, funky little moments. I didn't need my Justice League movie to be the ultimate movie experience. I just wanted something fun, and it was.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a mess. Henry Cavill's mouth was all screwed up, but like
I just don't know how you start your movie with a cell phone video of a CGI mustache. I mean, it literally is the first shot of the movie. And you're like, huh? What? What is going? That's when I knew we were in trouble. I'm a little biased. I'm a Superman guy.
Sure.
I love my Superman, and the idea because I like Batman v Superman so much, and we lost Supes at the end.
Yeah.
I'm like, Death of Superman, the comic. Maybe we'll get a little cherry picking of it.
They tell you right at the end he's coming back.
Oh, yeah, and I knew that.
Yeah.
But it was the comic books I was looking at and thinking, okay, I wonder how they're going to do it. I didn't think we were going to get a bunch of different Supermen coming in to our Justice League.
That would probably be a lame movie. Just too much. It's not nothing.
I'll tell you, though, I'll take that over Steppenwolf or whatever the hell that guy was.
Steppenwolf was a terrible villain.
Yeah, he was bad.
He's a placeholder villain. He's the villain who should be like killed in the first act, and then the real villain shows up.
Exactly.
Like, he's not interesting. It's not even his plan. It's a boring villain.
Yeah, so it just kind of fell apart there, and they kind of rushed through Superman coming back to life.
Super rushed.
No, it's
super rushed. Listen, it's a mess. It's a total mess, and I admit that. But I didn't have a bad time watching it, and even some of like the things that were lame. I don't know. It kind of like I kind of appreciated the patchwork quality of it. Like we're just desperately trying to make this work. Just doing us, folks. We got all screwed up in post. We're doing the best we can. We promise Wonder Woman will be good. We promise Aquaman. Yeah. Well, Wonder Woman came first, though, right?
Wonder Woman, Justice League, and Aquaman.
We promise Aquaman will make it worth it. Yeah. That's what they were saying. Yeah.
Well, it happened, but it doesn't change my love for Supes, for Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Wonder Woman. Those are some of my favorites. But
I love Superman 2.
Yeah, we're not Superman 2 the movie.
Well, actually, no.
You don't like Superman 2?
I don't like Superman 2 because I think the plot is messed up.
Yeah.
I think the plot screws up because the plot is Superman has sex and as a result he neglects the entire Earth. The Earth gets conquered by Zod and then Superman kills Zod. When Zod is powerless and helpless.
Well, he drops him down a pit.
And then he never comes back.
And
it's a bottomless pit. Do you hear him hit anything? That's a bottomless pit. He's dead.
I'm wondering what I've always wondered this as a kid.
Yeah.
And because it was one of the movies, Superman and Superman 2 were like, that was everything for me as a kid. And whenever he would drop Zod down there, I was always like, waiting for the thing.
Nope.
Then my mind started to go, and for some reason in my mind, I'm like, well, that's another Phantom Zone down there.
That's a no prize. That's you just wanting to make that happen, though. There's nothing in the text that says that.
I believe it's called headcanon. So yeah.
Okay. Listen, I have my own headcanon. It's fine.
Yeah.
Superman 2 doesn't really work for me. I like the first half of Superman 1. I'm not a huge fan of Gene Hackman's take on Lex Luthor. It's not my Lex Luthor. I grew up. I think a little younger than you, but I grew up with my televised Superman was Superman the Animated Series, and that sort of Clancy Brown, big businessman kind of. That was my Lex Luthor. So I never really connected to Gene Hackman as evil landowner.
Yeah,
but the closest I've ever had to a Lex Luthor who fit my idea of what Lex Luthor should be is Superman 4.
Oh, okay.
Because that's Superman 4 for all of its many. It's the cheapest movie ever. They made it for $1 and some coupons.
Yeah,
but
Nuclear Man, who I met at a party.
Oh, that's fun.
As a kid, because somebody said he's going to be in the next Superman, and I went, "What?" And they said they're going to. And it's funny how the rumors work back then.
Yeah,
it was like he's going to be another Superman, and I went, "Okay, yeah." And so when I looked at him and he's blonde, and I'm like, that's not Superman. But then I was still like, hi.
That movie would have been so much better if they just bit in the bullet and called him Bizarro.
Yeah.
It would have been so much fun. But that movie, the plot of that movie is really, really clever, actually. Someone buys the Daily Planet, they turn it into a clickbait, tabloid.
Yeah.
They actually challenge Superman on his ideals, which is something no other Superman movie does. And they say, listen, you really want to save the Earth? We're in the middle of a Cold War. Why don't you do something about that? Superman says, okay, I guess I need to.
Yeah.
That creates a vacuum of power, and instead of people accumulating nuclear weapons, now they want to accumulate supermen.
Yeah.
So they hire Lex Luthor to do it. Lex Luthor actually acts like a bad scientist badass, creates another Superman. That's a good story. That works.
That's on paper.
On paper, it's great. But this is my point. I was used to growing up with you take what you can get. And for me, the headcanon of Superman 4 is I'm willing to overlook how cheap it looks just because it's the only Superman story that I saw in a movie. There was that's a good story.
I get it. For me, though, growing up, so Superman 4, animated series. What's one of your favorite superhero movies when you're growing up? Because mine is the original Superman.
Oh, okay.
It was the one that really got me excited about the genre, had me fall in love with Superman, all those different things.
For me, I really started to hit that kind of little kid getting super excited about that kind of thing around 1990. So for me, the big ones were the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which holds up really well.
Yes, it does. Movie. That one hit me too. That was one of my favorites.
Very effective in a lot of ways, and also The Rocketeer. Which
Rocketeer.
Is practically perfect. Find a serious flaw in that movie. I dare you. It is so good.
The Rocketeer is, thank you for saying that. That is one of my all-time favorites. Growing up, I was I saw that movie in theaters, and I went, I need this in my life.
One of the things I love about that period in superhero cinema, that early to mid-90s, Batman came out, and all of a sudden people are like, oh, people really like that Batman movie. You know what we should do? More pulp heroes from the 30s and 40s. Not more comic book supervillain heroes. Like, that was incidental. What we got, we didn't get, like, you know, the X-Men or Spider-Man after that.
No.
We got Dick Tracy. We got the Shadow. We got the Phantom.
Phantom, I was going to say.
Some of those are real. The Shadow is quite good.
Yeah,
Dick Tracy's good. Like,
Dick Tracy I love.
Dick
Tracy for the time period it came out.
The production design is incredible.
The production design.
Incredible.
Madonna at the height of her powers.
She's good in that movie.
She's good in the movie. Yeah. Al Pacino, come on.
Got an Oscar nomination.
I was just going to say. And it just was one of those things that hit me. So, well, that's cool. Yeah, I really like that. But we got to turn this to the horror element.
To the dark side.
To the dark side because, God, when we were talking, I'm like, well, I of course, when I had the Beast on, I got to talk about some horror movies because your knowledge of horror is astounding, and I admire it greatly. And if we ever do singles, I'm going to be, do I put the horror slice on there for fear of you landing on it or me landing on it and then stealing and then stealing?
I would love, in like an exhibition match, to take you on in a horror Iron Man.
Oh, man.
Because we had our exhibition match that was horror, but it was like 5 different people, and someone had to get knocked out. You didn't make it to the last round.
I was out pretty early.
You were having a rough day. I bet an Iron Man between us would be really good.
Yeah. That's right.
I bet that'd be really fun.
That'd be really fun.
Yeah.
Aside from
I've never done an Iron Man.
I know. I've never done an Iron Man either.
Really, I keep asking to.
Well, that's where you're dangerous, dude. Because I'll say it. I think you like your knowledge goes very, very deep, and so the Iron Man match, first rounds, free for alls, those. I mean, you're lasting longer than any of us.
Yeah.
That's where I would worry.
Wow.
I think you could.
Why do you think I keep wanting all these Iron Man matches?
I see.
I know I'm pretty good at that part.
There you go. Yeah. But when it comes to horror, what is the first movie that you remember seeing? Not that scared you, maybe, but just one of your earliest horror memories.
I think the first horror movie that I distinctly remember seeing that was that I was really scared by like Monstro and Pinocchio, but like horror movie. The first one I vividly remember seeing was on like Turner Classic Movies or AMC, and it was Psycho. And I was probably like 6 or 7.
Interesting.
And I was just struck by how dynamic it was. My mom was big on making sure that like I was introduced to cinema the way that other kids are introduced to reading. So in addition to having on my summer reading list for the library, we would watch Alfred Hitchcock or Mrs. Miniver or William Wyler movies. We would go through the canon. And I hadn't seen Psycho, and Psycho was... I mean, I think I was too young to appreciate all the ways he was completely subverting cinema in its entirety. But the dynamic score, like the absolutely terrifying score, like you could put anything under that score and it becomes horrifying.
Oh, yeah.
And then everything from like the crazy silhouettes in the shower scene, how incredibly violent that was. But because it was, from like around the production code era, you could just air it all on TV. So they weren't really cutting anything out.
That's very true.
And then the twist and everything like that, it really blew my mind.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, I had to go back to Psycho because of my love for Halloween, and it was like,
It's one of the predecessors.
Yeah.
So like Peeping Tom. You got what is it? You got Peeping Tom. You got Psycho.
Black Christmas. Black Christmas. Put up there?
I would say Black Christmas. Frenzy.
Oh yeah.
There's actually even before Black Christmas, we just discovered this on one of my other shows, Canceled Too Soon.
Yeah.
We do a bonus podcast where we review TV movies, and we discovered. I'm trying to remember the name now. Would you mind if I looked it up on my phone?
Oh, go for it. Go for it. Yeah.
There is a TV movie. So everyone calls Black Christmas like the first proper slasher. It has predecessors, but this is the one where it's about people. They're being killed by some crazy person in a mask, and it's all vivid, and who's the killer, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
There was one before that, a couple of years before that, from the writer of Psycho, starring Sally Field and Jessica Walter. And it is, near as I can tell, it's the first like proper slasher. And I'm trying to find the name because it's got like some generic-y kind of Christmas name, like Home for the Holidays or something.
Okay, I'm looking it up as well.
Yeah,
you
said
from
like
Sally Field?
Yeah, like 1971.
1971. Okay.
Hold on.
That's going to be crazy. I'm dying to know now because here we go.
Home for the Holidays, 1972.
Oh, Home for the Holidays.
Home for the Holidays, 1972, written by Joseph Stefano, who wrote the screenplay to Psycho. Stars Jessica Walter from Arrested Development.
Oh, look at that poster. Come on.
Sally Field, Eleanor Parker, Julie Harris from The Haunting.
Oh,
it's not a great movie, but the structure is there.
Yeah.
everything you think about a slasher is there, and that's before Black Christmas. Now, I'm not saying Black Christmas. I'm not saying Bob Clark saw that because it's a TV movie. Who the hell knows? But it is this kind of missing link that no one talks about, and it was kind of interesting to explore. But there's all of these precedents basically for the things that you think are so groundbreaking. And that's one of the best parts of being a film lover is discovering those things.
Yeah, and then as you get deeper into film, you can start to like study it, and then you start to hear the inspirations of that particular filmmaker, and you're like, well, I have some homework to do. And that's why I bring up Psycho, because I got into horror, and Halloween was one of my jams, and it was one of my favorites. And then as I started to study that, and I'm listening to like interviews from Deborah Hill and John Carpenter, they bring up Psycho. And I'm like, Psycho? I've heard of that. I've seen the commercials and heard the theme. And so I saw it years later, probably in college. I finally saw Psycho and fell in love with it. But these are going to be some of the horror movies that we talk about. However, with the caveat, these are the ones that scared the shit out of us when we were kids.
Yes.
And they are the ones that some are going to be like the obvious, and some are going to be like, what? Do your homework. You're going to have to go see these because they're ridiculous. And I remember Bibbs and I were sharing our list, and I felt pretty good because I got the seal of approval for you. Like, those are some good. I forgot about this one. I forgot about that one.
One on your list that I'm not going to put on my list because you have it, but like I totally forgot that I saw that as a kid and it scared the crap out of me. Yeah. So yeah, that's a good one.
Well, we'll get into it, but you mentioned Psycho as being one of the first that like kind of truly.
That's the first one I distinctly remember seeing that was a horror movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Friday the 13th for me.
Really?
Yeah.
The original Friday the 13th?
The original.
Okay.
And it was like popped up on TV or something, or I remember renting. No, I rented it with my sister.
How old were you?
I was very young.
Okay.
And here's the story. My grandmother would take care of us over summers, and we'd go and stay with her. And there was a mom and pa shop down the street. And I must have been like 10 or 11, I would say. And God, I'm trying to remember my age, but it's got to be around there.
Okay.
And mom, my grandmother would go, I'm taking a nap. You kids take care of yourself. That was just kind of a thing our family did.
Sure.
And, we were sitting there, and I'm like, let's go get a movie. And let's go. And we walk down there, and I see the box art. And I'm like, I got to see this. This is taboo.
It was on with like the silhouette and the
silhouette
knife
with the knife and the kids in the forest looking around. And I'm like, and for some reason I'm really trying to piece the memory together, but it was something that these horror movie VHS copies just captured my imagination.
They really knew how to grab you. There are some terrible movies that have the coolest VHS covers you will ever see.
You want those as posters, because they're so good. And you see the movie, you're like,
it's a check they can't cash. But like that expectation was kind of part of it. Right. So I wasn't even mad.
Yeah, and I never knew anything about Friday the 13th. All I knew was that box art and the title. I'm like, Friday the 13th. Well, that's a bad date. That means something. And there's a knife. And okay, let's watch this. I don't know how we got it back to the grandma's house, but we rented it, and I'm really trying to remember how we got it out the door. But nonetheless, we did.
Did you steal it? Like,
no, we rented it.
Okay.
Yeah, and it might have been my uncle with me if I'm remembering correctly.
Or they might have just had a clerk there who just didn't give a damn.
It's more like that.
Yeah,
I think it's more like that.
They didn't used to care.
Yeah,
I didn't have any trouble renting or seeing R-rated movies until 1999 after Columbine.
They knew me. They knew my sister. They knew my grandmother. I said, yes, we can rent this. Okay, but you have to watch it with your grandmother. No problem.
Okay.
That's how I got the memory.
Nice.
I figured it out. Oh my God, that has been 30 plus years.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I helped.
Yeah, you did. So we got it home and watched it, and I just remember the going through the forest, and it scared the bejesus out of me.
That's a movie I really, really like. Friday the 13th, the original. I think it got a bum rap for a really long time because I think most people agree that the second one's the best.
Yeah, it's one of them.
I think there's a good argument to be made. That's where it all started to come together as a franchise. But I didn't fully appreciate Friday the 13th, the first Friday the 13th, until I saw it in a theater.
Ooh.
Because a lot of that, like, just slow gliding through the woods and everything like that, that's way more spooky. They're going for spooky. a lot of the time in that movie. And that's way more like engrossing when it's a huge screen, dark in theater. You hear people like breathing around you.
Yeah, and they're like,
it's way more effective in a theater. It still works. It's still a good movie. I actually like that movie a lot. But like, if you get a chance to see the original Friday the 13th in a theater, it's an entirely different experience.
Oh, I would love it. And I think, I mean, you have the sound design, obviously the Kid Mama, but then the Harry Manfredini's score.
I want to say yes. Hey, you're the scores and soundtracks guy.
Yeah, it's Henry Manfredini.
Okay.
That music, it just stuck with me for so many times, for so many years. So that's one of them. That's one of my big ones that will shoot it off and start up this conversation. I know everybody, of course, Friday the 13th is going to scare you as a kid. Don't worry, we're going to get some other ones that are a little lesser known. But what's one from you?
Well, I'm actually going to take this in a different direction. One of the things that scared me a lot when I was a kid, because my parents wouldn't really take me to horror movies. I could find them on home video or something like that, or on cable.
Same.
But they wouldn't really take me. But what they couldn't avoid was we would go see a movie and there would be a horror trailer in front of it.
Oh, yeah.
So one of the things that scared the crap out of me wasn't Friday the 13th, because I actually didn't see that until a little later. But when I was little, they had the commercial for Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. Now, actually,
I remember that trailer
Not a lot happens in that trailer, but it was so intimidating.
Yeah.
Just this zombie in this mask. And I was like hiding behind my mom and everything. We were going to see, you know what it was in front of? Dead Poets Society.
Oh my God.
Nothing.
That's hysterical.
Nothing to do with it. And I was really, really scared. I was hiding my eyes. My mom was like, "Are we need to go?" I'm like, "No, we're fine." And then I pulled myself together. And then there's the scene in Dead Poets Society where a teenager kills himself.
Right.
It's really sad.
Yeah.
And I cried because it's the saddest thing I'd ever seen in my life up to that point. And my mom thought I was still upset about the Friday the 13th trailer. And she was so mad at me. And I was like, "No, you don't understand. It's sad."
That's hysterical.
But like the movie that scared me the most when I was a kid is a movie I didn't end up seeing until I was adult, because I saw the commercials and the trailers, and that was enough. And that was Child's Play.
Yeah. We talked about this.
Child's Play is the scariest movie when you're a kid.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
Because you've got the toys. What if one of them was a demon who wanted to kill you?
Yeah.
Like, that's enough. Like, and you watch like the trailers for that movie, like on TV. They showed you the creepy doll walking around with a knife.
Yeah. That shot I'll always remember, when he runs behind her in the couch and you're like, huh? And then you see this little thing with a knife and you're like, what in the hell?
Yeah, they did a really, really good job with that movie. There's a mix of animatronics, of people in costume. I think there's just the doll itself is just a creepy looking doll.
Yeah.
But like you look at like the actual, I finally ended up seeing Child's Play when I was in my early 20s.
Okay.
And I avoided it for that long because Child's Play, just watching the commercials, gave me nightmares, recurring nightmares. I remember very vividly. I'm in like my parents' house, my house at the time.
Right.
And I hear like a loud television set. So I get out of bed and I go down the hallway and I go into my brother. My brother had converted his closet into like a computer workstation back when he had like an Apple II.
That's cool.
You know? So like I go into and he's usually like in there like playing Ultima or something, and I go in there and he's a skeleton. Oh, it's like a skeleton. It's like a House on Haunted Hill with Vincent Price skeleton. It's like even my dream it looks tacky and fake. But I'm scared, and then I run out into the hallway, and then it's a long hallway, and I'm on one side, and then on the other side, like high noon, comes Chucky. And he's got a pair of safety scissors, and he throws them at my face like a throwing star, and they're going. And right before they hit me, I wake up and I'm like, ah!
Oh my God.
It's the most vivid nightmare I think I'd ever had in my life.
You remember the nightmare.
Of course I remember that nightmare.
This got you.
It got me so good. And I had so many nightmares about Chucky killing me. I finally got to interview the creator of Chucky, Don Mancini.
Don, yeah.
He's great. He's a really cool guy.
I used to work at a gym where he would come in.
Oh, yeah.
And
he's very fit.
Yeah, he is. He's a fit man.
He's a very fit man.
Yeah.
But I got to tell him that. And I was like, you bastard.
You screwed me up.
But you know what? I finally watched those movies when I was an adult, and yeah, they're scary movies. I think the second one is actually the scariest.
Yeah.
Because the second one's from the kid's perspective. The first one's from the adult's perspective.
Right.
But they kind of screw that over because at the beginning of the movie, we see Brad Dourif put his soul into a doll.
Yeah.
There's no plausible deniability. There's no maybe my son is a killer. That doesn't work. But in the second one, it's just the kid knows the doll is a killer. No one believes the kid.
Right.
The doll keeps killing people. That's enough. That is terrifying. And the conclusion of Child's Play 2 is as epic as Terminator 2. It's huge.
That's right. It's all in a big...
It's in the doll factory.
The doll factory, that's right.
Yeah, it's huge.
I haven't... Child's Play kind of missed me.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I saw... I remember seeing 2, obviously part 1. I don't really remember part 3.
Part 3 was the one at the military academy, and it's not good. It's not a good movie.
It's not ringing a bell.
And actually, it was interesting because Child's Play came out in 88, and then like Child's Play 2 came out in 1990, and then Child's Play 3 came out in 1991, like 1 year later. But the kid, Andy, who was in the first 2, he went from being like, I don't know, like 7 to 9 to 18.
Right.
So Child's Play 3 takes place in the future.
Yeah. That's right.
That happens with the Friday the 13th movies too. Like the timeline gets totally screwed if you actually pay attention to the years.
Oh, nobody knows what. I mean, it's like by the time you got to 8, it's just like he's just laying at the bottom of the lake.
Jason X is not even a stretch at that point. They're just that far in the future by the time they get to space.
Jason X.
I like Jason X.
I listen. Do you know Joseph Scrimshaw?
I know.
You know of him. He does an obsessed podcast on around Halloween. He had me on for Friday the 13th because I am obsessed with the franchise in general. You give me a Friday the 13th movie, I will watch it every time. Sure. I just love it. It's part of my childhood.
They're all pretty entertaining. Like there really isn't like even the worst Friday the 13th is actually a pretty entertaining movie.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of 8 because that's when I was really into it. My 13th birthday party. I'm gonna date myself.
Well, if you're 13th, that's perfect.
Yeah, 13th, perfect. 13th birthday party, May 13th, and I'm not going to say the year. You can do the math at home. Friday 13th, Part 7, The New Blood.
The one where he fights Carrie.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was it.
That was the one.
It was a swim party.
The one where she mentally floats a potted plant in Jason's face.
Yes.
That's the winner. Okay.
It was absolutely my bread and butter. I was like, when this thing came out, like, because one, I just loved, I remember seeing Jason Part 6, Jason Lives, seeing the trailer for that, going, oh, it's back, because I was such a huge fan. And
I love that one too.
That's my favorite, I think.
It's good for you, because so many people are like, oh, that's the one where it's not pure. I'm like, dude,
no.
Every single Jason movie completely reinvented Jason.
Yes.
We have this general idea of what Jason is, but like the general idea I think most people have is undead zombie in a hockey mask. We didn't get to that to the 6th one.
That was the 6th movie. That's what started
just
it.
Like throwing poo at a wall and just seeing what's stuck in the shape of Jason.
Yeah.
Like that's it. And they're all a mess. And I'm fine with that. I would be fine if they just made a Jason movie every single year and half of them kind of sucked.
Yeah.
Like that's fine. He's not a sacrosanct character. He's a mess.
And that's why I'm always wondering what's with the reboots and the remakes and the trying to get it.
I actually liked the remake.
I did too.
I thought it was a really good Jason movie.
I thought it was a great Jason movie, and I wanted a part 2. And I heard there was rumors that it was going to be set in the snow and all this. And I was really, really wanting it. But then I read the script of the reboot by the name is he wrote Prisoners. Guzikowski.
Oh, okay.
Aaron Guzikowski.
I want to say that. I'm not sure. Yeah.
And I was like, oh. Dude, Prisoners, one of the best movies. You're trying too much, in my opinion, my humble opinion, that it was the father, the mother, and Jason all killing. And I was like, stop it.
I don't care. I don't. The whole like but their father was so important. Star Wars ruined that plot point, I think, forever.
Yeah,
I think after Star Wars you can't do that. It's so tacky.
We don't need to explain our villains.
I had a friend, I think it was Whitney actually, who said, my co-host Whitney Seibel, I think this is his theory. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. That Freddy Krueger was old enough. He could be Jason's father. If he worked at the academy, he did working with kids.
Wouldn't that be great?
Well, that'd be a hell of a twist.
Whitney, that is a great idea.
That'd be a hell of a talk about headcanon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it could happen. They could have done it in Freddy versus Jason.
Yeah.
Which I love.
That is the ultimate fan service movie.
I love
everything you want from Freddy versus Jason. Every single thing you want in that movie is in that movie.
Yeah.
It's great.
I lost my fiance over Halloween. Yeah, not forever, thankfully. Okay. But she got up off the couch because I put on Freddy versus Jason for a Halloween viewing. Not on Halloween, but leading up. You're putting on all the horror movies.
Sure.
She's like, I can't.
No?
It's too much. I'm like, come on.
Nah.
So
it's one for the hardcore geeks.
It's one for the hardcore geeks. Okay.
What's another one that scared you as a kid?
I'm going to give you the one that absolutely destroyed me as a kid. It's the number one. It's one that really I had to sleep in my parents' bed. I had to probably go to therapy. It effed me up.
Yeah.
Amityville Horror 2.
The Possession.
The Possession.
That is okay, I haven't seen all of the Amityville Horror sequels. I haven't seen the one with the evil lamp. I haven't seen the one with the time travel.
3D where the thing is.
I only saw the first two.
And that's enough.
I think the first one is
fine.
It's okay. It's trying to take itself super seriously, and it's not. It's a pulp piece of nonsense. It's
pulpy.
Too long.
The music's great.
Music's great. But yeah, two, which is technically a prequel.
Yes.
Scary as hell. It is so unnerving. It's also really gross because it's about real people.
Yeah, it's the DeFeo murders.
Yeah, so
it's the actual going back, as you mentioned, the prequel.
Yeah, so if you recall in the Amityville house, they move into the house, murders had happened on that house, the house has a bunch of ghosts.
Right.
This is about the murders that happened in the house before that, and it's got Burt from Rocky.
Burt
Young.
Burt Young.
Burt Young as this really just
he's the asshole father.
You get the impression he's never had anything to drink that wasn't a beer. He's just really just gross and skeevy, and the teenage son starts getting infected. And he starts trying to seduce his own sister.
Yeah,
and
it's weird.
It's so gross, but you see, I mean, it ends up being really supernatural, at the end, and there's an exorcism, whatever. But that whole big chunk where it's just this family eating itself.
It's so
It's trying to capitalize on, I think, what you would call a perverse fascination, where you want to see how the tragedy occurred. It's instead of driving past the car accident, you get to drive past the actual collision in slow motion. Yeah. That's what Possession 2 is, and it's repugnant, but I think it's well made.
And I'm looking at some pictures right now, and it's all flooding back to me because when I saw this thing. It must have hit me it's 1982, so this makes sense because I'm going to mention another movie that came out in 82 that got me as well.
Yeah.
So I must have been at that time in my life where family was everything, where I'm really relying on my family and I don't want to go to camp, I don't want to be without my mom, all these different things. So then I stumble on this movie. My babysitter puts this movie on. I'm going to watch these horror movies, right?
Yeah.
Sure enough, I watched this thing, and because it's the oldest boy killing the family, essentially being possessed, he becomes a demon at one point. He has this weird makeup, and
so cool.
It's very cool, but it really traumatized me.
Yeah,
It
because it's one of those things where it's there's a supernatural element to it, but it's a thing that could actually happen. Well, that was the thing that scared the crap. When I was a kid, I was scared of Jason Voorhees. I was scared of Jason Voorhees until I saw the scene in 6 where I found out he doesn't kill kids. He walks past an entire room of kids just to kill a teenager. He won't kill kids.
Remember, he's over the kid and he's just looking at her, and then
my favorite line in all the Jason movies is, "So, what did you want to be when you grew up?" Love that kid.
That's right. When he's in that,
the thing that scared me more than anything else was the fact that there are actually serial killers out there in the world.
Yeah.
We knew that. I was growing up in the 80s, and there was all this talk about Jeffrey Dahmer and Ted Bundy. And
dude, I had the Night Stalker.
Oh,
the Night Stalker hit because I grew up in Orange County. He hit a town, literally 5 miles away from us.
Wow, that would scare the crap
out of me. And it did. One of my earliest memories. Actually, I don't have the memory, but my mom came in, turned on the light, and I sat up in bed with a baseball bat. And she's like, "Whoa, are you all right?" And I'm like, "Oh, Night Stalker." So it's around that time.
So, but that's the thing. The possession, if you ignore the supernatural element there, that's just a teenage boy who has serious, mental issues, unknown trauma with his family, who took a shotgun. That's it. You don't need anything else. That's just a thing that can happen.
Yeah, and one of these stills is the girl hiding behind the chest and seeing him with the shotgun walking.
Yeah.
And that scared me beyond belief. There was some, I had to sleep in my parents' bed because it got me that bad. That's one of those movies. And it's so funny. You think maybe it's "Oh, Reilly, I bet it's Halloween. You're a big fan, or Nightmare on Elm Street, or Friday the 13th. Nope, Amityville Part 2, The Possession.
It's the creepy one. The one that for me broke that mold of this is plausible.
Mm-hmm.
The one that threw me into an existential nightmare at the age of 6 was Tobe Hooper's remake of Invaders from Mars. Now, I hadn't seen the original. The original is better. If I'd seen that first, that would have done it. The original is a 1950s. It was directed by William Cameron Menzies, who is one of the most underappreciated genre filmmakers in history. He was a production designer who ended up making a bunch of really cool sci-fi and horror movies. They were all super ultra designed. Incredible.
Yeah.
Tobe Hooper did what at the time I considered to be a great, but now I would call merely a respectable remake. And Invaders from Mars is about a young boy who wakes up in the middle of the night and sees a UFO land just over the hill in his backyard. And he tells his parents, his dad goes over the hill to see if there's anything there, and he comes back, and it's his dad, but it's not his dad.
But it's not his dad. Man, I'm flashing the trailer behind the computer here because I remember this movie.
Yeah.
I remember, and it was scary, and it got me, and I remember those lights over, like there was something in me that was like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And you can see it here, and especially like a horror movie, but like sci-fi,
and it's
aliens.
And again, it's told from the perspective of a kid, and a kid is really helpless in society.
Yes.
Like if you're a kid and if you're an adult and you saw something really crazy going on, you could tell someone and they might take you seriously enough to check it out. A kid, they'll just ignore you.
Yeah.
My dad's not my dad. Well, your dad's right here, so no.
Yeah.
Like
and here he
there's
is.
nothing, there'll be no argument. And so like this idea of this child as this very oppressed, like completely screwed protagonist as everyone around him is becoming essentially a pod person. And there's some really cool like makeup and monster effects in there, but the kicker is the ending of Invaders from Mars. Do you remember the ending of Invaders from Mars?
Oh, God. I'm trying to remember.
Because it's a twist.
Come out of their. I can't remember.
It's a twist. Should I tell you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tell
Okay.
me.
Cool. I just don't know.
Spoilers for a 30-plus-year-old movie.
A 30-plus-year-old remake of like a 75-year-old movie,
right?
Or 65, I guess. But,
right.
So at the end of Invaders from Mars, he saves the day. We've rescued humanity, and then he wakes up, and it was all a dream. But then he looks out the window, and the UFO lands.
Oh, wow.
So it's really happening, but it's also a dream. And I'm like, wait a minute, what's real anymore?
That's right.
It scared the living hell out of me. The idea that something that you're simply afraid of, like a childhood paranoid fantasy, which everyone kept telling me it's nothing. There's not a serial killer in your closet. That no, there actually could be. That's a thing that can happen.
Yeah.
And it could be anything.
That's a good one. That's a good pull, man.
That's a scary fucking ending, man.
I remember.
Can I swear?
Yes, you can.
All right,
you
cool.
can.
All right.
I remember that as we were comparing the list. I was like, oh yeah, Invaders from Mars, and this is exactly what I wanted to do on the Reilly Roundtable: is bring up these old movies because some of them are not good. No, but they're fun.
They're fun, and I think the Tobe Hooper remake is fun. The original 1950s version is stellar.
Is it?
It's
I don't think
good.
I've ever seen the original.
It's one of the most incredibly designed horror movies I've ever seen. Like there's this great bit where the kid's like, they put the kid in jail because he keeps telling all these lies. But the jail, it's like that hallway in Willy Wonka where it gets smaller at the back because it represents just how trapped he feels. Like that's the kind of production design. It's all psychologically oriented. It's really incredible.
That's great. That's a good pull. I'm gonna throw out a couple that there are obvious. Jaws. Yeah. Jaws really got me. Tell you a quick story to give you some understanding. My dad was like the one that really got me into it, I think.
Sure.
Into horror and especially Jaws. He's like, I've told this story many times. It's like, hey, your mom's out of town. We're watching Alien. And it's like, what's that? He's like, the scariest movie you will ever see. I'm like, let's do this. So we would watch Alien, but he introduced me to Jaws. That screwed me up for the water.
Yep.
As I'll never forget being at my grandmother's, swimming in, and she lived in Newport Beach near the beach and everything, and there was like barnacles on this pier. And I went, it's Jaws! It's Jaws! It's Jaws! They're like, calm down. It's not there.
The one that ruined the water for me wasn't Jaws, although that's a great one. For me, it was the Walt Disney version of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea with a giant squid. Because a giant squid is, basically a leviathan. It's basically like this, in that movie, like the biggest giant squid I think we've ever caught in real life is like 10 feet long or something. Right. They're huge, but like, this was like the size of a sperm whale. It's this giant thing. And I was terrified because we had a swimming pool. We were fortunate to have a swimming pool. And we had one of those like automatic vacuum cleaning things, but it was connected via a tube and it would move around on its own. And I was convinced that was one giant squid tentacle, and like next door underneath the other house, there's a giant squid. Yeah. And it's gonna grab me. Yeah. So for me, the giant squid was more scary than the shark. But yeah, I totally get it.
Yep, that one, that's an obvious one. The other one is Halloween, and I'll tell you, Halloween became my favorite horror movie of all time after coming back to it years later. But it was going to this. Now, again, I grew up in Orange County. This is when I was really young. there was still no Not Scary Farm, Halloween Horror Nights, Universal thing.
That didn't become a thing until later, yeah.
Right. Yeah. But what was a thing was at the Hollywood Wax Museum.
Oh, yeah.
They did a horror-themed kind of walkthrough, and they recreated Halloween. And I remember going through that thing and seeing Bob come down and hang there in the closet, and then they did the lights, and there's Michael. And that was my first introduction to Halloween. Mm-hmm. And it scared the shit out of me. And I was like, what? Oh, my God, what is that? And so then I started to seek out Halloween because I saw the mask, and I went, what? I don't understand. So, again, the VHS copies. Now, the Halloween VHS copy, obviously, is the knife with the pumpkin.
Yeah.
But I went asking for that, and my dad got it for me. And he's like, let's watch this.
Wow.
And it scared me.
That movie, the first time I watched Halloween, I think it was in junior high or something like that. And we rented it, and I was just going to watch it like late at night for Halloween. I was allowed to stay up till like 11. Ooh.
Perfect.
And so I turned off all the lights. And I wanted to get really spooky, and I had to turn it back on again after the credits. And the credits is just this slow zoom into a pumpkin. Yeah. Like it's not.
It was probably the music.
It was so atmospheric.
Yeah.
It was so creepy. I was actually like rewatching Halloween for like last Halloween, and I noticed something about it I never really thought of before. And the reason I never thought of it before is because of all the retconning the sequels did.
Right.
Because in the sequel they said, oh, actually,
Not
Michael Myers. Yeah. In the sequel, Michael Myers is Jamie Lee Curtis's brother. It was all about Jamie Lee Curtis the whole time. Watching the original and then watching the David Gordon Green one, I was like, I don't think he gives a damn about Laurie. Because when you think about it, he escaped and he turned into a ritual murder. All the girls who reminded him of his sister.
Yeah.
And then Laurie doesn't because she's actually like really responsible, not hanging out with her boyfriend or anything like that.
Right.
She's totally incidental to the ending of that movie. Like he was never after her.
It was like
he would have let her alone, I think, actually.
I've always looked at the shape as a shark. Yeah. Like, and basically there was a feeding frenzy on that block, and Laurie just happened to be there.
Basically.
I think he was scary.
I think he was triggered by people who reminded him of his first kill, but like I think that's about as far as it goes.
I think so too, and I think that's enough. To be honest with you,
I always hated the brother thing. I ruined it.
Too.
I'm not related to them. I'm not scared anymore.
Yeah,
that's it. End of story.
And especially when you're talking about Halloween, and this is what I love about horror and why I went back in to study it. I did the script, and I was reading the script, and I was doing the interviews, and for Carpenter and Hill to never refer to him in the script other than a character saying his name, but in the stage directions was always the shape.
Yeah,
and that's really got to me as a screenwriter. The idea of force of nature and that you don't know why. Escaped mental patient. That's it.
That's enough. And that's scary enough. I mean, that was the late 70s. It's actually a really subversive movie in that regard.
Yeah.
In the late 70s was a time when psychology was really starting to be taken completely seriously, like across the board. And there would be scenes in all of these movies where psychologists would come in and start like explaining things, and they would be seen as these forces of authority. In that movie, Donald Pleasance admits psychology has failed us.
Yeah.
This is just evil.
And I love that.
Where science fails, religion takes over, and he is just a force of evil.
Yeah, and then when you say, no, he's the brother, it immediately humanizes him.
Kills it. Makes it boring.
Yeah.
Like Rob Zombie, I respect what Rob Zombie tried to do with his remake of Halloween, but what he's doing is he's basically taking the most flawed version of Michael Myers and trying to build on that. And I think that was the thing that kind of killed it.
He took a swing. Everything he did is why it's completely counter to what the movie was.
I know.
The original.
I agree. And that there's a legitimacy to that because at least he didn't try to do the same thing. But I disagree with that take. I actually like his Halloween 2 more than I like his Halloween because
me too.
I think what he did with Halloween 2 was he took every decent idea from all the Halloween sequels, all of them, and just shoved them into one movie. Loomis has everything from Loomis has a book to there's some like disturbing connection between victim and killer that is driving the victim possibly to kill, like at the end of Halloween 4.
Right, which I love.
The whole, hospital siege sequence, but also it was all a dream sequence. Like it's all in there. Yeah. And it makes it like, let's just see if it was all planned and we just get it out of the way in one movie.
Yeah. He took a swing. I'll give him that. But they never really landed for me. All right. We got to move to the next one.
Okay. I'm going to tell you about a movie that I think most people haven't seen, but for me, it is one of the creepiest movies ever made. And I saw it. I saw the cover alone creeped me out a little bit when I was a kid. And then I was able to finally sneak around to seeing it. It's Bob Balaban's Parents.
God, when you had this, I was like, my God, I have not seen that in many years.
It's so good. Okay,
Yeah,
so
it
Bob
is.
Balaban, everyone knows Bob Balaban as an actor. You might know him from Wes Anderson movies.
Wes Anderson,
Close
Christopher
Encounters
Guest movies.
Yeah. He's funny. He's really wonderful. He's also a very creepy filmmaker. And he
Yes.
made a movie starring Randy Quaid as this 1950s totally, sitcom perfect dad. And the kid, and a lot of the movies that scared me as a kid were told from a kid's perspective, which I think makes perfect sense.
Yeah, perfect.
The kid begins to suspect that the meat that his parents are cooking for him is human meat.
I love this.
And again, what are you going to do? You're a kid.
Yeah.
Bob Balaban shoots the entire thing like an idyllic 1950s nostalgia fest. And it's so subversive and creepy.
Yes.
To just see Randy Quaid just deliver every horrifying line like he's, the kid from My Two Dads.
Right.
Or the dad from My Two Dads. Like this, the Leave It to Beaver dad. It's just like, well, son, human meat. And it's very, it is. What I love about it is the idea that something that is completely depraved and kind of objectively depraved, not like we have different cultures, but like, no, this is messed up by anyone's standard. It's all a matter of how you grow up.
Yeah.
It's all a matter of this is something horrible, whether it's an idea or an action, can be normalized.
Yeah.
And there's this opportunity you have as a kid to just say, I have questions. And can you keep that up? Can you fight against your parents who have who have terrible ideas, toxic ideologies, violent tendencies, whatever it is.
Right.
And I really connected to that. Now, fortunately, my parents weren't cannibals or horrible people or anything
Thank
like
God.
that. But there was, I knew kids who were in tougher situations, and there's something that's just really terrifying about and you can't move.
Right.
They're not your roommates,
and they're your parents.
Yeah.
And the thing I remember about that movie most of when the kid starts to suspect. There's a thing that happens where they're like, and I want to say you're going to remember better than me, but the grinding of the meat and then focusing on that because the question has been asked. And you're like, oh, and I remember seeing that, and it was bloody, and it was kind of like, and that's what got me.
Well, and it has all these little traumatic moments when you're a kid.
Yeah.
There's a scene in that movie where the little kid walks down. I forget what he gets. Needs a glass of water. Something in the middle of the night. Hears a strange noise. Goes downstairs, and he sees his parents, and they're having sex. Now that can be this huge kind of weird moment for any kid.
Yeah,
they're having sex, if memory serves, on a sheet of plastic covered in blood. Yeah. So just taking that up to not even 11, taking that up to 25.
Yeah,
the creepy traumatic factor.
Right,
and then his parents I don't know what you're talking about. Nothing. I don't know. That was a weird dream you had, son.
That's a good one.
It's so creepy, but it plays like a movie you'd be allowed to watch as a kid.
Yeah,
and that's the thing. It just gets under your skin.
That's absolutely.
What else you got?
This is going to come out of left field. Everybody knows this is one of my favorite movies all time, but I have to just mention the middle part or towards the end. E.T. E.T. scared the living shit out of me, and that's the 1982 version. So version. That's when I was talking about Amityville Horror 2, 1982. E.T. 1982 must have been that age when they come to get E.T.
Oh yeah.
And
they're all in the weird masks.
And they're all in the big.
And it's like there's laying siege to the house.
Yes, it just frightened the hell out of me.
Well, that's another one where I think that's infinitely scarier because that's another one that's told from the perspective of the kid. The camera rarely leaves 4 feet high.
Right.
In that movie.
The only adult we see is Mary, is the mother for half of the movie.
Pretty much, yeah.
Keys is the antagonist.
Yeah, Peter Coyote.
Peter Coyote.
Yeah.
And
they cut Harrison Ford out of the movie.
I know. The bastards. But yeah, so he made a fairy tale. And it was like this movie that you don't see the adults. And so he did it. By the time you see the adults is when they come and get E.T.
Yeah.
And you've been subjected to this adventure where E.T. is your friend and you don't want him to die. Childlike wonder, all this stuff. And then Spielberg just puts it right in your face. Here are these scary people coming. Mm-hmm. He's dealing with themes of divorce. He's dealing with themes of adults and, what a boy and his dog and all these different things. And that got me. And my mother had to take me out screaming from the movie.
That's amazing.
And I didn't see it again that day. However, went back and saw it 8 times in the theater after.
There you go.
Because I was like, I must have gotten the pep talk.
Look, it's a great movie. It's a great movie from top to bottom. And I think that scene really works because that kid he's worried that people are going to discover he has an alien in his house. And that's the concern in any movie like this, any magical friend movie. Someone's going to find out about, Mac and Me or monster trucks, and someone's going to take him away. But like, you have to pay off that anxiety. I think a lot of people are afraid to do that. And they'll make like, but it's okay because the government agents are goofy. Like, no, real threat to E.T.
Oh,
like legit threat. Like he's not afraid to go there. Like, it does work. For me, the kids movie that I think wasn't explicitly horror but scared the living hell out of me was Return to Oz.
Oh, yeah.
Return to Oz.
That was a good one.
I think it basically qualifies as a horror movie.
It is.
Only film directed by Walter Murch, the editor of Apocalypse Now. It is.
Fairuza Balk.
Fairuza Balk is great in it.
Yeah.
It is. If you've never seen Return to Oz, audience, see this movie. So the movie begins, it's after Wizard of Oz, and Dorothy, played by very young Fairuza Balk. Dorothy keeps telling everyone that she went to Oz, and her parents don't know what to do, so they send her to get electroshock therapy. And right when she's about to get electroshock therapy, there's like a power outage and everything, and there's a twister, and she gets sent over to Oz, and Oz is messed up.
It's totally messed up.
Oz got totally screwed up. There's like the villain has like a hall of severed heads, and the Wheelers are straight out of anyone's nightmare.
The Wheelers, they scared the shit out of me.
Even the good guys are terrifying. Like the Jack Pumpkinhead is like
freaks
really
me out.
Creepy.
What's that guy with the robot weirdo?
TikTok.
TikTok. Thank you.
The Gnome King is this like stop motion animated giant mountain monster who eats people, and and then so the whole movie is kind of just objectively terrifying. And then at the end of the movie, I'm going to get another spoiler, but like, at the end of Wizard of Oz, like, it was all a dream, and you were there, and I overcame, blah. Well, at the end of Return to Oz, it was all a dream. Oh, and incidentally, everyone at the mental institution died in a fire. And I'm like, I think Dorothy had a psychotic break and killed everyone and rationalized it with her. I think that's the premise of that movie. And it's terrifying.
It is.
It's terrifying.
It's
a Disney movie. It's terrifying.
Bonkers.
Yeah.
And I want to say, are you good with movie release dates?
Pretty good.
We went to see it, and it was sold out, and so we went and saw Stripes. I want to say instead. Was that around the same time?
Stripes was earlier.
Was it earlier?
I mean, they might have
then
been replaying
there was another
it.
kids movie. I don't know. I can't
Stripes
place it.
Like
I thought that was it.
82, I want to say.
Yeah.
And I think Return to Oz around 84, 85.
Yeah, but the Return to Oz, that's a good pull, man.
It's such a creepy movie. That movie's terrifying.
That movie is terrifying. Now, do you remember Troll?
I do remember Troll. This was the one where I was like, I forgot I saw that. This was considered a horror movie that was okay for kids.
Yeah.
And I don't know why.
Yes.
It's terrifying.
Now, it's legendarily known that Troll 2 is the worst movie of all time.
Allegedly.
It's
quite bad.
It's very bad. Troll, however, really got me. And I tell you, I think the design of the troll itself scared the shit out of me. But what got me was that freaking ring with a pin on it that he would stab you with, and you become this weird thing.
You became a tree. Like
you
that
became
was like
a
he
tree.
was making you plants.
Yeah.
And it looked painful. There's a scene in that
The
movie
guy's like,
where
and
Sonny Bono, future Senator Sonny Bono, host of the Sonny and Sarah Show, like becomes like a plant and it hurts him. And
oh, yeah. Like he becomes a cocoon and it opens up and vines go everywhere, and it traumatized
me. The
me.
movie, actually, I've revisited it as an adult.
Yeah.
The movie kind of sucks.
Oh,
the practical effects work is terrifying.
Yeah.
And the weirdest thing about it is that the little kid in that movie, remember what his name was?
William?
Harry Potter.
That is right.
100%.
Holy shit,
the kid's name is Harry Potter. He learns about magic in that. He becomes like a wizard by the end of it or something.
That's right.
I think they tried to sue, but it was too thin. Like it just happened to be a name and a magic thing. But it's just kind of surreal to watch it now because be like,
oh my God.
It would be like watching like, I don't know, some movie in the 1940s and there's a photographer whose name happens to be Peter Parker, but there's no other relation whatsoever. It's just kind of funny.
That's funny. Yeah. This movie is not good. I will say that, but it's that design of the troll, the thing he did, and it's that got me.
The last thing I want to bring up before we gotta go is I want to bring up something that isn't a movie but is movie related.
Yeah,
Nightmare on My Street. The DJ Jazzy Jeff and Fresh
Prince.
So like the I think it was like 4 or 5 Nightmare on Elm Street. They had like a lot of rap songs on the soundtrack. They had the Fat Boys.
Yeah.
And the one that Will Smith and DJ Jazzy Jeff, the jazziest Jeff we'd ever had.
Jeff, yeah.
was actually like set up as a sketch.
Yeah.
And it ends with like Will Smith like waking up from his rap.
Yeah.
And calling DJ Jazzy Jeff saying, don't fall asleep, don't fall asleep. But then DJ Jeff dies.
Dies with Freddy.
In the song. And I thought that broke me. I didn't know you could die in a soundtrack.
That is so funny.
I was terrified of that song.
That song got me.
Jeff sold it.
Yeah, because Nightmare on Elm Street, that's another movie that I'll always remember the beginning of him, the feet walking in the boiler room, making the glove. It scared the shit out of me. And then when we get to actual nightmares and Tina gets it and the claws across the chest on the ceiling, scarred me. That got me. But later on, as you referenced, when the Freddy craze happened and he became more of a, as everybody says, a stand-up comedian in part 3, part 4. Part 3 really got – I love Dream Warriors. But I was old enough. I lip-synced Nightmare on My Street in class. We had to do – and I did
was it a talent show?
It was like a talent show thing, and put it on, and I had the glove behind my back. So I'm rapping, and then when you hear the moment of the talent, now you must die, man. I didn't even need to see how it goes, that thing. And I would turn and do the Freddy thing and put on the hat.
That's really funny.
And it was.
I would kill to see a video of that.
Oh my god!
That would be the funniest video. You would get like 1 million hits on YouTube of that.
I wish there was a video. I don't even remember.
You should do that as an intro.
I was just gonna say. I was gonna say that could be an intro, but those are we hit a lot of them. Did you miss any?
I didn't really. I mentioned Pinocchio. Monster scared the living hell out of me.
Monster,
the scale of it.
Yeah,
I saw that movie when it was re-released in theaters in like '85.
Right,
and just there's a mountain off in the background, and then it breathed. It's just, and the eye, like looking at, like I couldn't even go to Disneyland at that monster ride because occasionally the eye would open.
Oh,
and it scared the hell out of me. Yeah, every single time.
Pinocchio is just a little bit scary.
It's a creepy movie.
It's a creepy movie.
When Pleasure Island, when they turn into donkeys.
When they turn into donkeys, and it's just the shadows on the He
gets kidnapped, and like it's a messed up film.
It is a messed up film
in a lot of ways.
But I loved this conversation. This has been a great conversation. The horror movies that scared the shit out of us as a kid. I'm gonna mention an honorable mention because I remembered it the other day, and I love that movie and the sequel, House. Do you remember House?
House is good. House is underrated.
It is
underrated.
A
lot of people say House 2, the second story, is better than House. I think they're equal. They're totally different. They're like, because House is just a story about a guy who moves into a house and he's got all this like Vietnam, flashback stuff, and it starts literally haunting him. And it's really great. It's got a good sense of humor.
Yeah, William Katz, Greatest American Hero, is in it. Yeah.
House 2 is the even funnier version of that, where every door in the house leads to like another dimension.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the Waxworks 2 of the House franchise.
And my favorite was because House 2 got me as well, and I think as a kid I liked House 2 because it had a little bit more humor to it.
It's really not scary. Like,
it's not scary.
It's got scary like pictures in it, but like it's nothing about it. The tone is very light.
The tone is very light.
But like the killer, like the evil like guy from Vietnam, the guy played by that one really tall guy from Night Court.
Oh yeah, Harry Dean. No. Harry. No. John Larroquette.
No, the tall guy. Anyway, I'll remember it afterwards, and I'll feel really bad. But he plays like the monster at the end, and he's really scary. The makeup is scary. Like everything about it works.
Yeah,
those are good films.
There is a lot of the practical effects and just the whatever you want to call it, like the concept, sure, but I don't even know what I'm trying to say. It scared me as a kid.
It's a scary movie. No, it's a scary movie. House is really underrated, and I wish more people had seen it.
Yeah.
It's just not something that comes up enough. And this is why we're here. This is why we bring it up.
This is why we bring it up.
Hopefully your millions of listeners.
I would love that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We'll check out House.
Yeah, check that out. If you guys, if any of these movies you haven't seen, highly recommend them. They're a snapshot of the time. They really are.
Yeah.
Show them to your kids. See what they think.
Let's traumatize a whole new generation.
Will they scar your kids like us? This has been a great conversation. That is the horror movies that scared us as a kid, scared the shit out of us as a kid, and it's episode 33 of the Reilly Roundtable. William Bibbiani, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Plug your stuff, man. Where can people find you?
Okay, so I got a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, do it.
I have the critically acclaimed podcast, which is on the Schmozo Network.
Great podcast,
Thank
by
you
the
very
way.
much.
Yeah, I do listen to it.
We do a double feature every week of one of the most notorious movies ever made, and we pair it up with one of the best. And our fans get to pick the bad ones. That poll is on the Schmoville Twitter page every week.
Great.
So we got that going on. We also have Canceled Too Soon, which is a podcast
love
where
that one too.
we review TV shows that lasted only one season or less. We just did Kitchen Confidential with Bradley Cooper and John Cho.
Oh my God, that's right.
And then next up, we're doing Pan Am with Christina Ricci and young Margot Robbie.
That's right.
So those are interesting ones. We have a Patreon. Patreon.com/canceled too soon, canceled with one L. And for that, you get bonus content. We have the aforementioned podcast where we review TV movies. Awesome. We also have a podcast called Only the Best. And in that one, we are reviewing every single nominee for Best Picture in chronological order.
Oh, man, that's a great show.
We just did the year 6 of the Academy Awards. We're about to get to the year It Happened One Night. Swept them for about 3 or 4 years there. They had 12 nominees.
Oh, wow.
And some of them are like so rare you can only watch them like at the UCLA archive. So fortunately, we live in LA.
Yeah.
We can do this.
Oh, that's really cool.
So yeah, it's been a really interesting, really cool deep dive.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, well, check all that out. That is William the Beast Bibbiani, and as well, please check out triviasd.com. You're doing the Lord's work over there. Thank you for that.
I guess Harloff is the Lord.
Yeah.
I'm sure he loves hearing that.
Yeah, I know. Don't say that out loud, everybody. I'm going to edit that out. That'll make his head even bigger. But thank you again for joining us. And everybody, you can find me at Reilly Round on Twitter and Instagram. And if you want, patreon.com/The Reilly Roundtable, because thanks to my executive producers of The Reilly Roundtable through Patreon, we have Courtney Rose, Dylan Steiner, Kyle Gerbrandt, Zach Anderson, Dave Ham, Tamor Buta, Christian Hestas, Kyle Harlow, and Mike Frazier. Thank you for your support, guys. If you want to...
Those are all the best people.
They are the best people.
Humans.
If you want to be an executive producer of Reilly Roundtable, if you want some bonus content, if you want to hear me and Tom Dagnito talk about nonsense, you can go to Patreon. We have Screaming at the Void. That's additional content over at Patreon.
Void.
We talk about. We just talk about nonsense. It's like, what are people offended about on Twitter today? Yeah. And that's what we talk about.
Wow.
So it's great.
Oh, I'm on Twitter too. I'm at William Bibbiani.
Perfect. So that'll do it for episode 33 of the Reilly Roundtable. We are here on 101 with Christian Harloff, Podcast One feed. Please subscribe. Please leave some comments. You can do that. If you like it, give it the old 5 stars. And you can also see this here on Collider Podcast YouTube channel. Thanks again to the Beast, William Bibbiani, for joining us. And an all-new Reilly Roundtable will drop next Thursday. See you then. Bye-bye.